Okay, good evening and welcome to the February 6th, 2024 Hanson Select Board meeting. This meeting is being televised by Whitman Hanson Community Access Television. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, I'm off tonight. All right. Okay, we have a very big agenda, but before we get to our agenda, Mrs. Ray.
Announcements. We are looking for citizens at large to become members of the following committees: Bylaw Committee, Cable and Internet Committee, Community Preservation Committee, Capital Improvement Committee, Cultural Council, Energy Committee, Historical Commission, Memorial Day and Patriotic Observance Committee, Recreation Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals. Volunteer applications may be found on the town's website, www.hanson-ma.gov, or by calling the Select Board's office at 781-293-2131. Nomination papers for the May 18th, 2024 town election are now available at the town clerk's office for the following offices: Select Board, 2 Select Board for 3-year terms, Board of Health for a 3-year term, Cemetery Commissioner for a 3-year term, Hanson Housing Authority for a 5-year term, 2 trustees of Public Library for 3-year terms, Assessor for a 3-year term, Board of Health for a 1-year term, Planning Board for a 5-year term, 2 constables for 3-year terms, 2 water commissioners for 3-year terms, and Whitman Hanson Regional School Committee, School District Committee, Pre-K through 12 for a 3-year term. Each candidate, prior to obtaining blank nomination papers, shall sign a statement containing his/her name and address in the town office for which he/she intends to be a candidate. The last day to obtain nomination papers is Monday, March 25th, 2024, and nomination papers must be returned to the town clerk's office by 5 p.m. Friday, March 29th, 2024. A minimum of 50 certified signatures of registered voters is necessary in order for a candidate's name to be placed on the ballot. The Hanson Public Library has been selected to host the Boston Bruins 17th Annual Pajama Drive Kickoff on Wednesday, February 21st at 10 a.m. Come meet Bruins mascot Blades and enjoy a story time, crafts, trivia, and more fun activities. While pajama donations are greatly appreciated, they are not required to attend the event. The library will also be collecting pajamas from February 1st to March 15th. The drive will benefit local children through the Cradles to Crayons and DCF Wonder Fund, 2 nonprofits that ensure positive living conditions for children. Registration is required. Please visit hansonlibrary.org/calendar to sign up. Emmy Award-winning local journalist Ted, is it Reinstein? Reinstein? Reinstein, okay. I say, yeah, I know. Who has been a reporter with Chronicle on Boston's WCVB-TV since 1995, will be at the Hanson Public Library on Tuesday, February 13th at 6:30 p.m. to discuss his new book, Before Brooklyn, The Unsung Heroes Who Helped Break Baseball's Color Barriers, which tells the story of the little-known heroes such as Moses Fleetwood Walker, communist newspaper reporters, and Pullman car porters who fought segregation in baseball, including within the Boston Red Sox. This event is sponsored by the Hanson Public Library Foundation. To register, visit hansonlibrary.org/calendar or call 781-293-2151. Upcoming meetings: Select Board, February 20th, 2024, and Select Board, March 5th, 2024.
All right, well, thank you very much for getting through the marathon of announcements.
Yes, I'm freezing. I don't know why.
We've got some folks here with us, so I thought we'd kind of take a few things out of order, just in the interest of everybody's time management. So that brings us to the Select Board warrant articles for May town meeting discussion. And Right to Farm is one of the articles. I think we haven't really discussed it in depth, but I think everybody's pretty familiar with what it is. Ms. Green, what did you really want to say about that? We had a citizen approach us and say, oh, you know, I'll do a citizen's petition. And we're like, you don't really need to do a citizen's petition. We're more than glad to entertain as a board, bringing it back to the town. It didn't pass the first time, but I think it really got kind of torpedoed unnecessarily, and maybe there was not good information about what that right to farm bylaw would mean. So I'm hoping that we can get some good information, some clarity around what it means. It isn't a bad thing, it's not evil at all, but sometimes at town meeting, you can get a couple of people who are very persuasive, and that's what happened at that particular town meeting, and they started using examples of some bad situations on farms that were around town that had happened, and sort of extrapolated that this would happen more often if we had the right to farm, which is actually not accurate. So I didn't know what you might want to add to that and say, or?
Well, just that we're researching some language for an article. Turns out that towns that have adopted right to farm have been able to add in some language that provides their own restrictions, so to speak, and things like that. So we're just gathering some articles from other towns to see what information's been put in each, and then we'll formulate and we'll put something together to present to the board as we get closer to looking at articles.
Did you have anything that you wanted to chime in on, like experience or anything you might want to?
Well, during the time with Ann, you want me to introduce myself?
Cool. Yes, yeah, yeah.
Michael Fleming, 1282 Woodland Street. One of the problems that we had during that was that the right to farm is really for larger farms, and there aren't a lot of those in Hanson. And what brought this up was problems with smaller properties, and then we got into all kinds of other things that just got crazy. So if you're looking into language that's going to be added, I don't know what can be added to include smaller home farms, because it was basically, I forget, do you remember what the acreage was?
The farm,
It was five.
it's 5 acres,
Yeah.
and the house takes up, and, the house can take up an acre, I believe.
Yeah, so
it's something like
there
that.
was some issues with that, which made it a little difficult, because, I mean, ultimately only affects maybe 3 places.
Yeah, it was only like 3.
So if you're looking into it that way, and we can get the stigma of what happened the last time to go away, that would probably help out, get people to understand that it's more for larger farms, but this is to help out people who just want to have a backyard farm.
Yep.
Why they moved here in the first place,
Right.
because we're having a lot of people move in that now complain about what the town is about. And this town is a farming community.
It is,
Cranberries,
yeah.
farm, horses, pigs at one time.
Chickens, yep.
Chickens, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of animals around, but it's all smaller farms, so right to farm doesn't really help that part of it. So if we
Okay.
can get something that works with that,
Yep.
that would be.
I will say that
Okay,
one of the
yeah.
things that we came to find out was a lot of that ends up, it's under the purview, that's why we had the agricultural
Yes.
commission.
Yeah.
So I think we need to revamp that, because really, it's a matter of educating people. For example, I was called on a couple of situations with roosters. And when I went to the homeowner and said, explain what was wrong, what was going wrong, why, they were very cooperative, and they realized it, and they took care of the situation. I mean, people get mad about the roosters, and then other people love hearing the roosters. It's funny, We had dueling roosters down behind me on the Carriage Road, and 2 different people had too many roosters, so they just had to cut back on that, and it was easy. It was an easy fix. So my thing is that I'd like to see the Ag Commission come back and facilitate proper animal husbandry, which will go a long way towards keeping people happy. That's my thing. I don't know that you can do much with the bylaw that's going to fix that. From my recollections, it was pretty.
Well, we can certainly do our
Yeah.
best and see
Yep,
what we can
yep.
come up with.
And I know that, one of the things that was real estate, but
Yes.
people have actually found that right to farm bylaws in a town actually bring real estate values
Yes,
up.
yes.
It does not denigrate real estate values whatsoever, and that was the biggest problem.
And to Mr. Fleming's point, we have to think about what attracts people to a town like Hanson. It's the open space, it's the ability to farm, it's that historic, kind of bucolic, it's all the embodiment of all of those characteristics. So it seems like Right to Farm would be very simpatico with
Right.
that, so, okay, all right, I didn't mean to call on you, but since you were here just fortuitously anyway, I was like, well, we might as well tap into it. Okay, library, so ARPA funding, now, this is where we're gonna kind of go out of order because we've got the folks from the library here. We've got Pratt Place Culvert, Ambulance, Pond Management, Library Grant. Now, can you level set us, Ms. Green, how much money do we have left in that ARPA funding?
So there's the two different pots?
Yes.
Okay. So the pot that we have money left is with the Plymouth County ARPA, administrative. That particular money is very restrictive on what we can use it for. There's certain categories that there are eligible projects fall into. In that pot, we have 1.542 million.
Okay.
Okay? The projects of Pratt Place Culvert and Ambulance are two projects that are eligible for use of that money. Pratt Place Culvert, back in '21, well, we received a quote of 1.25 million for repair, possibly replace of that culvert. And then the ambulance is what a lot of the towns right now are using their last remaining ARPA funds towards, regarding the Plymouth County.
And what's the dollar amount for ambulance?
450,000. The Pratt Place culvert, I would highly suggest that we use the money to address that issue, because right now, Highway is using some metal plates to, I guess, make that road passable above that culvert. That culvert is in dire condition, and since I've been here, people are saying that it is in dire condition and could collapse. So, to me, there's no better use of money that doesn't come out of the taxpayer's pocket to address this issue, in the ambulance.
Yep, but that brings us up over. Am I doing, is my math?
Well,
fuzzy?
see,
Okay.
there is a possibility that we could approach Plymouth County and ask for some more funds. And we are also chasing some grant funds that could potentially help us with Pratt Place. Now, we have applied for grants in the past, and we've been turned down every single time because the culvert's either too long, too short, not wide enough. There's always been something that disqualifies that culvert from being eligible for
And
a grant.
that is a
So,
public road,
That's a public road.
which is
Yes.
surprising,
Yes, it's a
given the
public road.
condition of it, but it was accepted as a public road.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And if something happens to that, there will not be any way of those homes, the people in those homes, to get to Winter Street, basically, so.
You know, and I understand that, and I do understand that it's a safety issue, but what I'm struggling with is we're never again going to have this type of money to move the needle on other things. We're just not. And I struggle with $1.25 million of one-time money being used on a street that's like 3 or 4 people. I know it's a safety issue. 4 houses. Four houses, I should say. And so I don't know. What do you think?
Well, there are other options, though. I mean, you
I
fix it
don't
or
know.
break
I mean,
it.
the looking for the grant funding, but of course, that's not assured. It's not a sure thing. So, and then if we don't get the grant money and we don't use the 1.25 million, then we're going to town meeting. And part of me wonders if that's the right thing to do anyway, to go and say, like, we're not gonna just make the decision to use ARPA funds. We're gonna go to town meeting and we're gonna ask you, as a citizen and a taxpayer, is this how we should be spending our money to fix that Pratt Road? And,
But if we do that, and town meeting says no, and it collapses.
I know.
No, see, I
know.
think that we've done marvelous stuff with ARPA money. I think we've gotten a lot of juice out of all
We have.
the 2 pots of ARPA.
Yeah.
I think this is a worthy thing to spend it on. I
I'm
really
just
do.
playing the devil's
I
advocate.
know you are.
Like,
I know you are.
I'm just
I know.
wondering, is
But
this...
I would hate to see those people get I mean, what do they do?
That's the problem is, you know, like, if I were on Pratt Place, of course I'd be like, please make my road, you know, safe, and I'm
It's
not,
not even a matter of
I'm not
safe, it's a
trying.
matter of passable.
Well, that's the thing, is my understanding is that it's at a point where, it's questionable on whether first
drove down there
responders could, you
and
know.
looked at it, and
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to take a heavy truck
No.
across that thing.
so,
Well, and one thing to remember too is that this money is restricted, so there's only certain categories we can use it towards. We did use the, basically revenue replacement for the McQuon, the 418,000 towards McQuon. So the rest of this money falls under certain categories, which would be water and infrastructure, where Pratt Place would fall under, or health, which is where the ambulance fall under. But again, you have to make sure your project falls under the categories and then reason for it.
what do you think, Mr. Weeks?
Well, I mean, on the one, I'm always an advocate to take things to town meeting because we're talking about taxpayer money, and what better way with such a large chunk of money to get people's buy-in. On the flip side, you know, we have a town administrator who we've hired to entrust to weigh all the options and figure it out and to advise us in the best way possible to use some of this money. So I feel, I'm trusting in the idea that, you know, you've done your due diligence and you're presenting us with what you think the best option is, given all the different options that could have possibly existed. I don't think, you know, one need outweighs a different need. I think that, you know, many streets and many citizens of Hanson have different needs and whatnot, but I think when it comes to restricted funding, that can only be used for, you know, I think you've done your due diligence to give it to us.
And these have to go to town meeting anyway, so we need
Yes,
to put
yes, they
warrants
do
in
need
for
to go
this.
to town
Yes.
meeting.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yep.
So either way, you'll find out that day whether or not they want to spend it on that.
I'm not expecting, of course, now I'm calling the university and honest, I'm not expecting that there'll be any controversy. It's ARPA money. I think where we get into, controversy is more free cash, you know,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
money that could be spent in a million different ways, how that's being spent. ARPA money, because of the restrictions and, you know, and all that, I tend to think we won't get a lot of pushback on it, but, so
I think
if we spend 1.25 million on that, then that leaves us to 290.
So it's 1.54, $1,542,239.
Okay.
So 450,000 of that will be for the ambulance.
Am
And
I,
then that would leave us with about $1,092,000 and $541 left.
I feel like I'm not doing my math correctly or something.
So you said
Because my
1
brain's like exploding.
Right, well-
You said 1.542, right?
1.542,
Right.
$1,542,239.
For Pratt, it's 1.25
And then if we subtract
million,
Right,
1.25,
so, right, so once we subtract the 450,000 for the ambulance, that leaves us with like $1,092,514, right around there. However, Plymouth County has indicated that if we need, you know, maybe $300,000 more, we can approach them with that, with reasoning, and if they do have ARPA left, they could award us that money.
when would we know that in advance of town meeting?
We would know that in advance, yes.
Okay.
Because we are, right now, we have been guided to do, do an RFP on the design and cost to replace that culvert.
Okay.
So we would have that we would have that before town meeting.
So, but we would have the determination from Plymouth County before town meeting?
We have to go to town meeting and have town meeting approve it, then we present it to Plymouth County to let Plymouth County
That's what
know
I'm asking.
that town meeting has
Okay,
approved it.
but there's a possibility that we're going to present something at town meeting that Plymouth County won't approve.
If they weren't gonna approve it, we wouldn't wanna bring it to town
I'm
meeting.
talking about the
but-
additional amount of money.
Oh, right, the additional is possible, but I would pretty much, I think, know that before we go to town meeting.
So do we need to?
We need to know,
something
we
in?
need to find out how much it's gonna actually cost.
Yeah, go,
Put in enough to put two numbers in. One, the number that we can get from ARPA, and then another from wherever, that we're hoping to get from
I think
ARPA.
he's
But
right,
we
similar
need
to what we do with the conservation grant
Yes, same
articles,
thing, yeah.
where we say, like, look, we're pretty hopeful,
Yep.
It's looking pretty good that we'll get this money from this other source, but if we don't, then it's gonna come from wherever, free
So we're
cash or.
talking about $157,761.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about,
Yep.
that we need, in addition.
In a
addition,
year
and-
that's as tight as this, that could make a big difference.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Um,
And I've already had, conversations with Plymouth County about that as well,
Let me ask you this, if Plymouth County doesn't wave that magic wand and give us that additional money, are the priorities Pratt Place,
So-
and then we don't do the ambulance, or what is?
No,
the-
so basically, we have until December 31 of 2026 to spend the money. So if we go to town meeting and town meeting approves the money for, the culvert, and then we have to come up with the rest of it, we can go to either the October special town meeting, once we know what our new free cash is certified, we can go to the October, or we can go to the next meeting in May to approve the free cash. Because we don't have, we have until December 31 of 2026 to actually spend it.
I know, but
So-
don't we want to try to get it going as soon as possible?
Oh, yeah.
Given the condition of it?
But, with the, like I said, with the major part of it, we can at least get the design, the engineering, and the permitting. We can get that part of the project underway, and start preparing. And then if we need to go to town meeting for another $157,000 for free cash, we'd have October or the next May, but we would still be in the process.
Okay,
of
so
moving
what I
that
think I'm
forward.
hearing you say is that you're thinking it will be 1.25 million, but we really won't 100% know that until we go through all of the feasibility, blah, 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 all
Right,
the
the design,
engineering
right,
studies and all of that.
exactly, yes.
So we're kind of like, softly setting aside 1.25. We may have to go back to town meeting and ask for more money. We're hopeful we won't, but we might. And,
Right.
okay, I get where you're coming
So,
from.
yeah,
on
so
that,
we know
yeah.
we're gonna have at least $1,092,000. We know we're gonna have that towards Pratt Place.
Okay,
It's just gonna be what that difference is.
Okay.
And Tony's reached out to engineering firms to get proposals to help us with this process. So we are working diligently, but basically, we have to submit a memo to Plymouth County by March 1st on the projects that we're looking to do with the ARPA money, and then provide them with a timeline of basically how we're going to do this by April 1st.
I agree with
so,
Joe. I
yeah.
think, I like your recommendation. You've obviously done a lot of work with Tony. It's one-time money, right, which is ideally, we even heard from them when they came and gave us the big check the last time. That's what this money is really for. It's not to, use to balance budgets and all of that stuff. So it seems to fall into it. I don't see where else where we're gonna get that money from. So we'll let the voters decide. And then ambulance is
So-
$450, and what will we be doing with ambulance? Buying a new ambulance, is that what we're?
Yes, this would be
okay.
for a new ambulance, yes. And they
Okay.
are, so Chief O'Brien is working with the company. He will be getting like a work order for that, a purchase order for the ambulance that I will be submitting to Plymouth County. So they will have that invoice in the record already. And we just put it on the warrant for town meeting and then as an article. And then once that's approved by then we can submit for the money for the ambulance.
Okay, and so that brings us up to a grand total again of what?
So, let's see,
Roughly the 1,542, is that what we're saying?
1,542,239.
Okay.
And it's like 23 cents.
And so that's that bucket.
That's that bucket, right?
All right, now,
So
I
on the other
assume
bucket.
pond management and library are under the other
Right,
bucket.
so
Okay.
if the board may recall, in the October 2022 special town meeting, there was an article number 6 included ARPA money for library HVAC system for $200,000. What has transpired is our, Charlie Baker has hired a company to do maintenance on the HVAC system for the library, and since that has been done, they've, managed to get the system working very well, I understand, and basically has saved us at least 3 more years, given us 3 more years. So that frees up that money to go to other projects.
And how much money was that?
It was 200,000.
Okay,
So the grant that the library is preparing for to apply for does require.
I'm sorry, Lisa, was that only for HVAC or was it for a generator in HVAC?
Just for the HVAC. It was
Okay.
200,000 just
But
for
we
the
still
HVAC.
don't have a generator there.
Right, right.
Okay, all right.
We are working on that.
It was just for the HVAC.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the 200,000 was just for the HVAC. So the library they're preparing to apply for a grant. The grant application is due in May. And a requirement of that grant is that the town has to, you need to.
Yeah, so they have to appropriate
Appropriate.
$150,000 in preparation for us getting a grant, assuming we are going to get it. So obviously, if we don't get the grant, we won't need to spend the money. We won't know until October of next year if we actually get the grant. But we still do have to have that appropriation that will.
What does it have to sit in an account so that they know that it's been allocated? Or just a town meeting vote saying that it will be allocated?
You just need the vote, basically.
Okay.
That's a requirement.
Okay. I know some of the grants require that it actually be in a separate account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be 150,000, which would leave 50,000, for pond management. Pond management has been something that conservation and health have brought to our attention, with algae and things like that in the ponds that require treatments that the town really hasn't paid attention to. So pond management, I worked with conservation and the health. Conservation did do a bid process.
Yeah.
And we did receive one bid for pond management to provide, a study of the ponds, let us know what's wrong with the ponds and what it's gonna take to get the ponds healthy again. So that did come in at $94,000.
Pond management
Pond
pieces?
management piece, yes. So I know, you know, that's why I have these here for the board to consider.
Where would the other 44 come from? Free cash?
We'd need to bring it out of free cash, yes.
So we have to appropriate 150,000, but we might actually not need it all. It depends. They assume that you're going to need that amount, but if the actual planning and design turns out to be less, then we don't need the extra money. And we don't know yet how much that would be, but it is possible that there will be extra.
Yeah, that's helpful. I mean, we've run into that with the conservation grants where, you know, you've got to set aside money and then depending upon,
They assume
yeah.
250,000,
Yeah.
and then the grant does 100,000, then the
Yeah.
appropriation is 150.
My only thing with using ARPA money for the library thing is, I really think, that if you want to know if you've got support for a new library, I think you need to do it as a free cash item and say, we need $150,000 of free cash to do this for the grant. I think you're gonna get a false, I don't know, like, I feel like people aren't going to pay attention to it again if it comes out of ARPA. And I'm not sure you're gonna have a clear idea of how supportive people are gonna be about it. And maybe you don't care right now, like maybe I don't mean you don't care, but you know, like maybe it's not a priority like right now. But I think that, you're gonna need a groundswelling of support to get the money that you guys are talking about needing. And I mean, I'll defer to the rest of the board, but in my mind, I feel like I would like us to be like as open about it as possible and be like, look, here's the process. We need 100, like, if you guys think the library is important and you think that you're on board with our vision of what we want to do, then we need you to vote $150,000 in free cash. And then I think you'll really see. But if you're saying you've really got a tight timeline, like, what is your timeline on this?
So, the application's due May 31st.
So, okay, so it's this time, yeah.
So that was our concern too, is that
Okay.
if we don't get this vote, then we can't even apply at all to even see if, so that's why we would really want to, if we used the money that was kind of already appropriated for the library and just kind of switched it over to that it would be kind of less of a burden on the free cash and that, we would be able to proceed with the application if we see if we could get a grant and then.
Okay. I mean, my other thing is, like, I really, we haven't done anything about a generator up there either, right?
Right.
And, I'm sorry? Oh, no, go ahead, yeah.
I just feel that personally, we had the 200,000, that was taken back. But that was appropriated, and then it was reversed. We've gone to this maintenance plan, hoping everything works out. I just feel we're due the 150,000 because it was originally appropriated 200 and then
I understand where you're coming from, but I think I look at it differently. If it was allocated for a purpose at the library, which was HVAC, that's what the voters said, yep, we're okay with the, with the $200,000 for HVAC because we know the seniors are there and the library patrons and, we use it, we need to have heat, we need to have air conditioning. That's why I'm saying I feel like it's like not transparent, kind like I will be transparent, like the article will be written the way that it needs to be written, but I don't look at it as that was library money. That was ARPA money that was allocated for HVAC. It's not being used for that. So now to me, it goes back in the pot and we look at all of the priorities and we figure out is the library study, does that make it to the top of the pile of the other priorities that we might have? And I don't even know what those other priorities are. I'm just saying, like, there could, one thing we've talked about over and over again is a generator. So,
And we did apply for the generator through ARPA, and we were turned down for it.
but then they told you that we probably could reapply and they'd reconsider it.
Right.
and that at the time was 85,000.
85,000, yes.
So, okay, well, if these are your recommendations, what do you guys think about the library grant money? Are you okay with that, or? Okay, you okay with it?
Yeah, again, I go back to, I'm under the impression that every stone's been turned and that these are the most well-informed decisions that are being presented right now, so.
Okay, Ed, anything?
No.
Okay, all right, so do you want us to, make a motion on these to be used in the way that you've outlined here?
Yes,
Okay.
so we do need motions on this.
Okay,
for the ARPA,
so
yes.
I will entertain well, first of all, do we need a motion for you to include a right to farm bylaw in the upcoming warrant?
We do not need a motion for that one now, because you'll be reviewing the article when we get it and then voting to put the article
Right.
in, so we don't need
Okay.
one for that particular
Then
one.
I will entertain a motion to allocate, $1,092,000 for the Pratt Place culvert and $450,000 for the ambulance out of the Plymouth County ARPA bucket, for lack of a better way of articulating that. I will entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? And then I will entertain a motion to allocate $150,000 for the library grant and $50,000 to the pond management, project.
Yes.
And how do we differentiate the bucket that's coming from, Ms. Green?
We can just say, we can on that,
Cares?
just say, ARPA money from the treasury.
Okay, from ARPA money from the treasury.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, great. All right, thank you, guys. Sorry that took so long. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, now, we've got Miss, yes,
You guys have a meeting scheduled for March 5th?
okay. Is that,
You're gonna have to meet after 8 o'clock. Elections.
No,
No, okay.
no, he didn't.
no, she actually
No,
did read that in the
You read it
upcoming
right.
minutes.
It's here.
Yeah, it's in
It's
the
on
upcoming
the
minutes.
upcoming, yeah, but that's not right. Because we talked about that.
Good catch, though.
Okay, but
Good catch.
just as an FYI, this is because anytime the polling stations are open, right, we
You meet after 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
If you need to, you absolutely can.
Right,
It's
no,
after 8 o'clock.
we're not
I'm really
on for that.
hoping
I
we
know
don't
why it
need
said
to.
that.
Yep,
Thank you very much.
okay,
Thanks.
All
Madam
right.
Chair,
Good catch.
yes,
may I make a suggestion?
yes.
So we have some vendors who would like to make some presentations to the town, to the board. One being John Madden, who's preparing the financial analysis.
Okay,
He cannot make it to the February 20th because that's school vacation week and we're on vacation.
okay.
But he is available February 27th. so he can get his financial analysis and presentation to the board, just when we're really getting into the hot and heavy budget season.
Can I make a point? If we have to have executive sessions, also, we're gonna end up meeting every week.
Well, that is an excellent point, one we want to avoid. Are we suggesting that our next meeting, I know we may have something we need to meet in executive session about next week, that's unavoidable. But perhaps just executive session,
Yes.
okay? And then our next meeting would be February 27th, is that what you're proposing?
Yes.
And then when would the next,
So you're gonna skip the 20th completely?
are we saying we're not gonna meet on the 20th?
What do we have on the 20th?
I just want to make sure that if we've made commitments to anybody else about,
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted, we want to just double check to make sure. And if we have, maybe we can reschedule that to the
All right,
27th.
and so February 27th, we're going to try not to
Okay.
meet on the 20th. And then when would our next meeting be after February 27th, the 12th?
March 12th.
Okay,
I'm gonna move this meeting in my
Oh,
calendar.
you know, we have social vote tech coming in on the 20th, but we can see if we can reschedule that to the 27th.
all right, so I will entertain a motion to change the meeting dates, our next two meeting dates to be full open session meeting dates to be February 27th and March 12th.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, fantastic. All right, now, in the interest of moving things along, we have got the lovely and talented Mary Collins here from the Council on Aging. And
Saying that because you know I'm tap dancing. My way down.
come to our Inquisition table,
No.
please, welcome.
This is lovely.
We usually have a light that hangs down and we ask where you were on the night of the 5th, but tonight we're sparing you that.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
much appreciated.
So Mary, if you don't mind telling people who you are and where you're from and,
I'm Mary Collins, and I'm the Elder Affairs Director here in Hanson. I've had that pleasure for 14 years now.
wow.
So if I don't know you, please stop by, because I feel like I know pretty much everybody over the age of 65. So I really appreciate this every year, because your timing is wonderful, because I have prepared a lot of reports for the end of the year for the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, so all of the figures are really current, and I didn't have to do it twice, which I appreciate.
Great.
So, it is certainly, I'd like to just give you kind of a brief overview, and those folks that are at home, of what the Senior Center does, what we offer, and the people involved. I would like to draw attention to our Meals on Wheels program, Monday through Friday. I want to say throughout COVID, and then before, after, and for the last umpteen years, we've had 4 groups of people that deliver Meals on Wheels. Some take an extra day here or there, but Dana Franciosi, Tom and Stephanie McSweeney, God rest her soul, but Tom is back with us again delivering, so I'm very pleased with that. Linda Patino, and also Alan and Heather Camo. The lovely thing about, there's many reasons why it's beneficial for people to get Meals on Wheels. Of course, nutrition, access to food that's easily, it comes every day. There are other entities that play into this, in that people are seen by someone, they're visited by someone. I will tell you, there's more than one person that finishes up their route and goes back for a cup of tea, or somebody has invited them back to the house. They're more than happy to take any kind of donations that we get in, if there's little desserts from Shaw's, and just kind of wrap them up and take them with them for their, and give it to the folks that are getting the Meals on Wheels. So it's just another set of eyes for people that might be a little frailer within the community. So we're very, very grateful. Over the course of the year, over 5,400 meals went out. Emergency meals, there's over 200 that went out. And then congregate meals we have twice a week. And that's a warm meal, a hot meal for each person that comes in Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Well over 1,100 were served. So don't ever feel that you are in need. That's what I'm going to say to people within the community. There's always food available. just pick up the phone and make the call, or have somebody you know make that call. Roberta Bartholdson is part-time, and she is our administrative assistant. She's there in the mornings. Quite often, if you call, she's our first kind of go-to person. She has been instrumental, especially these last 2 years, in making appointments for Medicare. Any questions about Medicare? Open enrollment becomes very, very busy. And as such, I can't take all the calls to make schedules because I'm already doing appointments. So she has just absolutely got this down to a science. I would truly be lost without her. And our few minutes every morning before everybody arrives that we quickly get caught up, I very much enjoy. Linda Mulry came on board about a year ago, a little over a year ago now. She's part-time outreach, 19 hours a week. And where Roberta's in the morning, Linda comes in the afternoon, because I'm the only full-timer there, so it kind of helps have another, person in the office. Linda got Shine certified in May, along with Jim Hickey and Faye Vitale, who is a volunteer. And Linda and Faye, not that Jim didn't, but he had other things going on. Linda and Faye were absolutely phenomenal during open enrollment. Took a lot of the edge off of me, because the day goes from one person to another to another. And there's always paperwork involved. And you have to make sure that we're not making people's decisions for them, we're giving them the options. And that they get the full, all of the options available to them. So that does take time, and
Mary,
everybody deserves that.
I'm sorry, do you mind explaining, because people may not
Yes.
understand what it is that a Shine Counselor, what it is, what the process is, what you're helping them with?
Absolutely. I will ask you to think about Jimmy J.J. Walker, who's on television, about a Medicare Advantage plan that he's trying to sell people, or there's any number of them, even Tom Selleck, I think, sells them now. Anyways, but those are people who are brokers. They work for a company, they work for an insurance agency, and they're brokering. They're calling you to see if you will enroll with them. Each person that you enroll, they get paid for. And they may be misleading you. I'm not going to say it at all intentionally, but they want to sell their product. A Shine Counselor is certified by the state of Massachusetts. They have to go through a quite extensive education piece. We are tested every year. We are retested, recertified every year. All the updated information about Medicare, about benefits. That's another thing that's really important, is that we have the ability to vet people for maybe public benefits that they're unaware that that they actually are available for. So, or they fit into that criteria. So you're coming to a Shine Counselor, and thankfully now we have more at the center. We're going to give you unbiased information. Sometimes the information is not great with the cost of medications. When you tell someone, well, your copay is going to be $90 a month, it's a big pill to swallow. But we might be able to find other avenues. So this is what a Shine Counselor will do. We do it because we want them to benefit from it. We truly, truly want them to benefit from it. We saw over 138 people in Hanson residents from mid-October to December 7th. We saved over $58,000 this year.
Wow.
And it's their money. And if we can save a little bit, because somebody might have didn't realize that they could have gone on this plan. One of the largest savings we had this year was $16,000. Because the company that this gentleman had for his insurance was dropping coverage of his insulin.
Oh my gosh.
Now, he doesn't recall getting a letter from the company in his mail, which they are obligated to do. He doesn't recall that. Well, if anybody's at 65 yet, which we know nobody here is yet. No. There's a lot of things that come in the mail during open enrollment. And so everybody's trying to sell you. So it's very possible that that piece of paper went with everything else. If he had stayed with the plan that he was on, he would have spent an actual $16,000 for his medication. The reason that his company dropped that insulin is so sad. Insulin was capped at $35 co-pays last year in 2023, but it's up to the insurance company whether they cover insulin. They still have that power. So as much as the power is still there, we're just doing our best to try and fight the power.
Now, if a veteran comes to you, do you connect them with the veterans agent to
Oh, for
make sure that-
sure, and I
Yeah.
have to tell you, Joe has been wonderful. Joe, if he's not a Shine counselor, he's pretty close. And he is, I didn't say this out loud, but I know he has a connection at Mass Health, so. Anyways, but Joe is wonderful, and if we find that someone, he will often send somebody down and he'll say, I think this person might be eligible for a Mass Health buy-in. And so, again, there's this information that unfortunately, it's out there. It's just not broadcast.
You need a decoder ring sometimes to figure it out, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while I'm speaking of it, there is a program through this Mass Health buy-in, in case anybody out there is listening, and in case you're one person that we saw during open enrollment, there's a program that we would have to vet people. They might meet the criteria for their income, but they would be asset. It was asset-based, so they were over asset. Rumor has it that asset limit is going away, starting in March. So please call the senior center if you have any questions. I can give you all of the statistics and we can work from there. It's a huge benefit because with that buy-in, people are getting back the $174.50 that they pay every month for Part B. That can be substantial for someone, substantial.
Well, thank you for that explanation. I think
Yes,
it's very
and
helpful.
it is a big part of, yes, today I saw 2 people for Shine. Just because open enrollment has ended, we have a lot of people just joining Medicare now and needing to know their choices, their options. So Linda has been, again, just fabulous, and Faye. We did, whenever somebody comes in, we do vet them for SNAP, and so I assisted, doing applications for a number of people throughout the year, about 25 people, as well as housing applications. After somebody talks with me for an hour, and I realize that the circumstances in their life are such that maybe they would benefit from considering applying over at Meeting House Lane. There's an application online called CHAMP, and you can get on, and you can actually pick the communities that you might consider if an apartment became available. And oftentimes, they're not comfortable doing that, so we'll do that. It's like one-stop shopping.
Yeah.
One-stop shopping for seniors.
Yeah.
I promise I won't. I know if Tony's waiting, God help him. I'm so sorry. When you're passionate about what you do, I have to acknowledge the people that are involved.
Don't dim your light. We love it.
No, I just,
Yeah.
and I'm not Pollyanna, but life is good. I mean, it has to be. So we have music programs. We still have our chorus, tried and true, and they do like show tunes, and they have their own thing. And then we have kind of more of the, please forgive me, Lorraine Lentini, if you're listening, more of the groovy crowd. And so that's like music from the 60s and 70s, guitar. There's probably maybe 10, 12 people that will sing, and all of the words are Van Driver is a huge guitarist, and he loves to sing, and so he gets all the lyrics ready, and it's like this big lovin', and everybody sings, and it's like peace and love in the 60s
It's the
and
summer
70s.
60s. All
Yeah,
the
so we're trying to, other generations.
Yeah.
So, men's group, women's group, bereavement group has been incredibly well attended this year. A lot of people have had loss, and sadly, a number of our folks in the bereavement group have lost a spouse and a child, which is really, when you think about it, it's overwhelming, but incredibly unusual that these people have found each other, and they have been so supportive of each other. I saw them tonight at a wake, and they attended because one of their members just lost her mom, and there they all are, like, there to support. So friendships are built, support is built, and that's what we want to see. That's
How
what
long
we
does that be?
foster.
Is there?
There's not an end.
Oh, okay. So I
It's
know
like-
some of them end like after.
It becomes more of, again, a support, a group of people, and now they're meeting at the center, but then they're, hey, let's meet for breakfast. That's what we want to do. We foster that in people. It's what they need. It's what we all need, but it's certainly what helps them get up in the morning. Let me put it that way. So we have our line dancing.
Oh, yeah, yep.
And our Lisa doesn't want to speak to this, and our chair yoga, which is incredibly popular on Mondays and Thursday mornings at 9, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow. So I'm very thankful for that. If any of us had the time, we should probably be there to do that. But great group of people, and not that I save the best for last by any means, but Tuesdays and Wednesdays we have Leah's Club. And Leah's Club is run by Leah Garcio. If you don't know her, I'm sure you know of her. She's probably the sassiest dressed gal going to the senior center, but Leah is a godsend, for sure, without a doubt. We talked things through after COVID. We lost our supportive day program because of COVID, due to COVID, let's say. And Lee came to me one day and she said, we need to do something, because those people, just because of COVID, doesn't mean that they're still not out there and that they're in need. And there's a huge push nowadays for communities and people to recognize that there are people that are living in the community that have dementia, and they're living successfully within the community. A lot of things have been put into place to help them stay in their homes with the right support systems. And so, Leah decided and I decided, let's do this. Our STEP folks, senior tax abatement program, we have 6 members receiving STEP benefits by volunteering. The best part of that is they stay after their time is done. So Leah's there Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Liana Gagnon works with her. She's part-time. She's a gal that you appointed a few months back. Between the volunteers, the people that now want to be volunteers because it's too much fun not to be, and Leah and Liana, it is just a remarkable group of people. The feedback from the families is just tremendous. These families truly want to keep their loved ones at home, but they want to do it in a safe way, and they need support. And instead of sending their loved one 5 days a week to Adult Day Health, they might keep them home, maybe send them a couple of days to Adult Day Health. But the choice is here. We have one gentleman in his early 60s, and when I first met him, he knew that his diagnosis, when we first met him, that his diagnosis was dementia. It was Alzheimer's, early onset Alzheimer's. He told me that. His wife did. And he now goes to Adult Day Health the other 3 days because he needs to. But he always wants to come, when am I going back? And he means us. When am I going back? And so, God bless you. The one thing that is at the bottom of all of this is that a person knows that they can come in and they don't have to put on airs, and they don't have to act like they really do understand what you mean. And people, if they don't do this naturally, they learn by watching Leah, that you go into their world and you make it okay, and you make it safe, you make it fun, and isn't that wonderful? I mean, that's really the way it should be. So on that note, I want to tell you about maybe a possible opportunity for a grant. And this is, I think I mentioned it to Lisa, but it's so like, a couple of weeks ago, I got an email from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. Basically said that there may be grant money available through them with ARPA money to bring back supportive days or establish new supportive day programs. There's not a lot out there. I think there's 56 within the state of Massachusetts and very few down here. The closest really is Duxbury. And no offense to Duxbury, but we wound up a few years ago with one of the people that was told at Duxbury that they weren't suited for that program. And the husband would drive his wife from Marshfield up to Hanson because we very infrequently turn someone away. So, but anyhow, I will keep you, if I could, keep you abreast of, I would love to, the possibilities for $300,000. We would have to look at expanding the and please don't get scared when I say expanding, I won't ask for it. Charlie, Tony has been over there, Carrie Glass has been over there, just thinking kind of outside the box. What can we do? How can we make something like this possibly work? There's so much going on now within the great room that we couldn't possibly bring that back 5 days a week and not kind of alienate the other groups that are taking place. It's impossible. The ceilings are too high. You've been in there, you hear the talk, and so we're thinking outside the box right now. Let me just leave it.
Thinking about reconfiguring, is that what you're?
Not so much reconfiguring, we're actually possibly adding on, but in a way that it wouldn't be, I was even thinking of a prefab. I haven't even
Okay, all
mentioned
right,
this to
yeah,
anybody
yeah.
yet. I haven't even, I was just.
Well, the jack is out of the box right now.
I might as well. Well, if anybody has any great ideas, it's gonna be around 300,000, so. The idea is to possibly get this program back. It was self-sustaining, so the revenue that we made actually paid for the people that were their salary. Never made any great money, never lost any. Every year we were up and down, you know? So anyways, I'll throw that out there. I know I promised to make this short. I should give you a late evening
Well, we asked questions,
snack.
Mary.
I'm sorry.
No, we can be blamed, we were asking
Just a
questions.
couple more things while
Yep.
I have your, I would like to thank the group over at Camp Kawani. In February, we had a massive, pipe burst. And both Laura, Frank Malisi, Dory, everybody was really involved in making that happen so that we could get over there, continue to have Leah's Club, have all of our activities over there, and they were just wonderful.
They were bummed when you guys left, they enjoyed all the activities up there, yeah.
So I do have to thank them. Community Christmas, God bless them. This is a number of years now that Community Christmas has reached out to help some of our seniors who really, truly appreciated what they gave them. It was beyond helpful, and a lot of tears, I want you to know. So, our friends group and our food pantry, who just recently, Michael brings over food every Wednesday from the food pantry, Shaw's Tuesdays, Thursdays, and just recently, Sue Shui reached out. Sue, otherwise known as Judy Bena's daughter, because we know her mother very, very well, and she is just a whirlwind.
She's a sweetheart.
I never had the opportunity to meet Sue. Sue established an area that is just for staples and things, non-perishables. And then her mom volunteers on Wednesday. Her mom's to take a picture so that Sue knows how much she's going to need to. Oh my gosh, the first week was like, I gotta get over there and fill it up. It is being used.
Oh, that's good to
It
hear.
is absolutely being used. And oftentimes it's not people that are coming in for an activity. We have people that will walk in, know that it's there. They don't have to talk to anybody.
No.
They take what they need and they go.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. I just want to thank, like I said, I have had more support in these last number of years from the folks here at the town hall. I feel very much a part of the team. Everybody's willing to give their expertise and their help. And, Charlie's been instrumental. Carrie Glass has been incredibly helpful, moving things along over there. And Tony's now jumped in, so it's like the Three Musketeers. That's the way that I look at it. But for someone who just does people, I don't have that knowledge base, and it's just incredible that I feel so comfortable going to them. Just like our police and our fire. It's a great group. And highway. If I left anybody out, please forgive me. But I do appreciate it, and I always feel supported by Lisa. But I very much do. And of course the select board, so.
Well, it's just the karma that you have reaped coming
Well,
back at
thank
you.
We may not be able to provide the art programs and the things that are real costly, like, I get this sometimes, Marshfield and Duxbury offer, this, that, and the other thing. And I know they do, and I know they have a bunch of rooms, and I know they have all kinds of things. what we offer is what we can possibly offer at this point, and that's what we've always tried to do. And I will tell you, not one person walks through. If they have a problem or a need, if we can't address it, we'll find somebody who can. And maybe that's what our, gold star is, if you want to say that the other, and I'm not to compare, but I do talk to the other directors, and they certainly, and I'm very proud of what we do here, so, amen.
You should do. We're very
Thank you.
fortunate to have you, and we
Thank you,
really
and
appreciate
I'm very
you.
fortunate myself, so I want you to know that I recognize that.
Thank you for everything that you do.
I
I
thank
think you
you.
do a good job, because my grandparents live in town. My grandfather's 92, my grandmother's 81. They haven't utilized the senior center at all, but the reason why I think that it's so important is because due to proximity, it's become a lot closer, and you see how as people get older, the world gets smaller. And I think regardless of what activities you provide people with community, and you provide people with the ability to connect back to the world. And I think that is something that they look forward every Tuesday. They go to Savers and meet their
Yeah.
friends, and they do all these things.
That's it.
And I think, finding those little places where you can connect back and feel like you're part of something again goes a long way. So you
You're
guys
right.
are fantastic.
Everybody needs a purpose when they put their feet on the ground, everybody,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what age.
Even if they haven't found you yet, people are gonna keep finding you, and new people are gonna trickle in.
And your parents may just be too young to come.
That's what it is.
Remember,
That's
it's
what
all
it is.
here.
No, it's the truth, and I just think that, community is so important, and I think that you having a welcome environment is more than enough than any program that you could offer. I just think having a place for people to go is so important.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you so
Each
much,
one of
Mary.
you. Thank you. All right, we're gonna have to wake Tony up, I know.
Tell them to
Where
follow
did
that
he
one.
leave? Oh, Tony, I owe you something. Not at all. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mary.
Hi, Mary. Have a good night.
And I guess since we do have Mr. DeFrayis here, proposed planning board zoning bylaw amendments.
Yes, so what I've submitted on Friday, so what I've submitted to the select board is the two amendments. One would be to the zoning map, which will depict the new district, the MBTA district, down the South Hanson area. And the second is the actual draft of the zoning bylaws for that district. So what the planning board is putting before the select board is, for your consideration, these two points. And then if you consider them, the next step would be for the select board to request that the planning board provide a report on that information, which then we would we'll have a public hearing at the end of February. So anyone from the board, if you've had an opportunity to read through, or if you have anything you want to come to the hearings, obviously it's a public hearing, we'll be advertising it. Anyone can come in, comment.
So you are proposing these be in our upcoming town meeting warrant as articles?
Correct.
And your timeline is if we give you the green light
Correct.
to go ahead and do this, then you circle back with the planning board
Correct.
and you guys have a public hearing.
Correct.
And then once the public hearing happens,
The planning board provides a report to the select board saying, yes, we think these are good, we've made some edits, etc.
do you tell us what the feedback was at the public hearing? or-
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And obviously, as it being a public hearing, any member of the board is welcome to come.
Yep,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, did anybody have any questions?
I'm very upset. Are we gonna have to vote to place this, and if we're gonna recommend it? Because I cannot recommend this at all.
We're not
I know we're not there
necessarily,
yet.
I understand, Mr. Hill.
Yeah.
We're not, tonight, we're
Not
not,
tonight,
we're
yeah.
not saying whether we recommend.
Right.
I think the way I look at it is, typically, unless we've got, unless we think that somebody has not followed the protocol of what their department is supposed to do, it's more of a pro forma, the planning board, like, they're coming to us because that's what they're required to do.
Yep.
But the planning board is elected to look at these things, and they're making recommendations to us. I certainly hear what you're saying, and if you personally, or even in your role as the selectman, feel as though you cannot, support it, we could place, and you would just simply vote against recommending it. And again, this is if we wave the magic wand and it all goes, yes.
So what's happening this evening is under Mass General Law 48, Section 5, which is the zoning act. So one of the entities that can bring forth zoning amendments to this, to the town, to the select board, is the planning board.
Right.
So that's what we're doing. So we're presenting this to the select board for their consideration.
Okay, so that's all we're doing, that's all we're doing tonight.
And then, so then what happens is the select board takes it as consideration, and then they turn it over to the planning board, who's required under the same section to hold a public hearing and provide a report to the select board regarding these amendments.
Makes sense.
And so then once that's done, then the next step would be you'll go through your process as far as recommendations to the town meeting. Tonight it's just a matter of we're presenting these to you, and like I said before, I know it's funny that in essence now you turn it back to the planning board, but that's part of the statute. That's how it has to operate. That's how it has to work.
It just forces us to talk and know what's going on.
Well,
It's really what it comes
there's
down
a
to.
concept, having
Yeah.
two elected boards
Oh,
talk.
yeah, it's great.
And I think, as we discussed with you before, we've got a lot of people saying, why is this being forced on us? And again, even when we were talking about the right to farm, bylaw, like, people move to town because it's a certain way, it's a certain look, it's a certain feel. You're buying like a way of life, in a way. And of course, nobody thinks that, things will remain unchanged for the duration of their life. That would be delusional. Nobody thinks that. But I think one of the things that we are all hopeful is that we will at least influence the changes that will happen in town, and that we'll be the drivers of that change. And this very much feels like the state's the driver of this change, and we're simply being forced to comply with it. And I know that there are towns that are not complying with it. And one of the things I think, if we are to turn this back to you guys, one of the things I think Ms. Green and Mr. DeFrayis, we really need to get some data points, because I keep hearing us saying, and I saw a whole article about Driscoll saying, well, what's going to happen if this town doesn't pass it? I think it was Milton that was fighting it or something. And there were a lot of sort of like veiled threats, some not so unveiled threats, veiled threats. And one of the things that she kept saying was, well, there'll be grant opportunities and other funding that they'll miss out on. I think we really need to have some facts around that, Again, I'm not saying like, let's play Russian roulette. I personally don't want to take that risk. I know how important grant money has been for this town getting anything done after years of not getting any grant money. But there could be pitfalls for the unwary. And I think if I were just somebody coming in as a taxpayer, as a voter to town meeting, I'd really want to be armed with the facts. What does it mean if we do this? And there seems to be a narrative out there that there will be 700 and some odd new housing units built. I think you had said at worst case scenario.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What I really try to emphasize is that the town is only required to create the district.
Correct.
That is all. The town is not required to build the housing. The town is not required to create the housing. You just have to create the district in which reality, either through the town could create some of the housing, but more than likely it's going to be created or would be created through private. Now, again, the floor or the number of units that they, let's say, assigned to Hanson as a commuter rail is 750.
So that's like the outermost limit.
That's the limit, period.
Yeah.
If you wanted to create 1,000, you could, but you're basically going to get is they would say require you to do 750. But you're only creating the district, you're not creating any of the housing.
So we're creating a district that would allow for
For mul-
700 and...
Correct. For
Okay,
mul-
all
for-
right, okay.
What you're doing is creating a district of reasonable size to allow for multifamily as of right
Okay.
versus anything that requires a special permit. Now, even though it's as of right, the town would be allowed to review site plans for each site to make determinations of traffic, drainage, architecture,
And who would
parking.
do that? What, is that
The-
ZBA or planning or?
We have in this draft, that would fall under planning.
Okay,
Okay? And then, the one thing you can do is you can condition it, you can control it. You can't deny it because it's as of right, but you have the ability to make sure that what's going in actually is a good project.
so give us some examples of like conditions that we could that planning could put in that would give people some comfort that we're not talking about these mega, like 10-story high, like apartment buildings. Like what could we say?
One of the things we have here is we restrict it to, right now we have 40 feet in town, and that's what we're keeping. We
Okay,
have 30,000 square foot lots, we have setback distances. So that's all part of the bylaw, and that's going to be in the district. As far as like site plan, let's say a site plan review, talking about screening, number of parking spaces. They talk about, let's say, having, because it's a commuter rail station, for instance, let's say you have 2 spaces per unit. Unit could be an apartment. You could do 1.5. You reduce the number of spaces because what they're trying to do is obviously get more folks to use the commuter rail. That's the whole point. That's the whole idea. So we have all that information as part of this, these bylaw amendments. And I've also passed this up along to town council. So I brought town council in as well to start reviewing this with us. So it's creating the district. And again, you're not creating the housing. But I get it. It's true. I mean, the state is saying to all the municipalities that are required to do this. I was just on a webinar yesterday, and at a minimum, if you don't comply, you're going to lose not just the 3 grant opportunities that they sort of talk about, mass housing, mass works, etc., but it's probably going to penalize you on pretty much any grant that the state offers. So
now they're thinking of casting the net more widely.
they're casting them more widely.
It's called blackmail.
Now
It really is.
The
Yeah.
AG's office had gone a step further, saying that it's the law. Now, again, we know that you lose grant opportunities. You know that one's probably for sure they can cut you off.
They can control that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is our
The
model.
one beyond that, where let's say the AG's advisory talked about opening up liability to municipalities, I guess we won't know that until the end of this year. We won't know that until January 1st, 2025, if the AG's office will go after any municipalities that have not complied. As I said before, until, if a group of municipalities goes to court and they win and the state says you don't have to do this, great. You don't have to do this. But until that point, I think we have to keep moving forward because, again, Hanson needs the grant money. And it would be a big hurt for us to lose that grant money.
It would be huge. I just wish that this had been approached differently, like more of a everybody knows that housing is a problem in Massachusetts. There's nobody who's gonna think that it isn't. And we know it's even a problem in Hanson. People can't afford to move into the town, and we know elderly people can't afford to stay here. So nobody's gonna say it's not a problem. But to take a town the size of our town and sort of do a square peg and a round hole move and be like, we're gonna wedge the same rules that we're applying to Worcester and Brockton and,
Well, the one thing is the state does recognize that it's not a one-size-fits-all. So different communities have different requirements. But this is how they want to proceed. And you're right, it's a mandate.
Yeah,
You're being
it is.
told
Yeah.
to do it.
I gotta-
If you're not a commuter rail station town, the community I live in is also commuter rail. And the commuter rail is probably about a mile as the crow flies from where I live. And where it is a dense area, and it's part of our downtown area. So I look at it and go, that area is gonna change dramatically if once
Yeah.
this gets implemented, it's gonna get a lot more, the center of town, at least where I live, is gonna get a lot more urban. you know? And they're great ideas to have the housing, but you also, I always say this, as you say, now the universal cave-in is, they always forget the human factor.
Yeah.
The people factor.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, you might have an experiment that can go well, and you might have an experiment that doesn't go so well.
But the fact that they're not engaging the community, like, they're dictating instead of engaging, like, if they said, look, could you be partners and try to work with us on how to find some housing solution, I think you'd have less of this upheaval and this, and we'd be like, yeah, let's look at our town, let's see what we possibly could do. But this, like, dictate, it just, you know?
And the time limit, you know, has been real tight.
Yes.
To get this going. But you're right, you know, you're talking about, hey, this is the home of the revolution. The revolution happened because we didn't like mandates.
Aren't we?
So,
Yeah.
From my perspective, I don't like the idea, even whether you're for it or against it, I don't like the idea of getting taxed, them taking the money, because the grant money is not like,
No.
it's not like it's coming off a money tree. It's literally our money. And then you get to say, well, you don't get it back because you're not doing what we say. Well, it's like, it's our tax money. I don't understand. So why would we be excluded from money that we already paid into the state? It doesn't make any sense.
We might have to do a tea party here in McQuon Pond, or like.
I just don't.
It's, you know, I totally understand.
There are better
I
solutions.
totally understand the concepts, you know?
It's just better solutions. It's
But-
just,
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't like feeling boxed out of something simply
Yes.
because we have an objection to something,
Yeah.
when it's our money that you're taking from us and then keeping from us.
You just
It's
have to, unfortunately, if it's gonna be fought, it has to be fought in a grand scale.
Yeah.
And
Right.
we'd have to join up with, because we are just Hanson.
Yeah.
We are just this little.
Right, and
Tony,
then-
is there a commuter rail in Weston?
yes.
There is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There
that's
is.
what, they're
Dover,
fighting it, yeah.
they're fighting it.
They're fighting it, I believe, yeah.
I know, I know.
Sherburne, I'm
Well, let's
just
put it
thinking
this-
of these high-end towns.
Well,
that-
let's put it this way, Weston, actually, I'm not sure Weston, I get that confused with Westwood.
I don't think Weston has it.
Like
Oh,
West,
maybe
West,
I'm thinking of Westwood.
yeah, Westwood has commuter rail, and I don't know if you know.
No, I know that. I know.
University
Yeah,
Station,
Yeah,
you know.
yep.
But yeah, so
Well,
it.
I just wanted, one thing, you said, we restricted to 1.5 parking spaces. I read the little requirements here. Just because they're living in Hanson next to a railroad station doesn't mean they don't need a car.
Exactly.
Oh, exactly, oh, yeah.
It's
No.
ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah, let's put it this way, you're talking to someone who was in the
This
private
doesn't
sector
help
for many years
Yeah.
about planning.
Low-income
and
housing.
Design and,
No.
Right?
No,
There's nothing,
no.
there's no, this is a 40-something plan, but it's not meant, I mean, it might be meant to help low income, but there's no requirement.
No, this
that it
is
needs
to
be low income.
encourage multifamily.
well, this has affordability in it, yes. It's not, this isn't just creating 750
But will it,
units. It would create 750 units, and there would be affordability units in
they
there.
all have to be affordable?
They don't all have to be
What
affordable.
percent?
But, 10%.
That's
So
what we
that's
need to do in here, so that's not helping Hanson at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We gotta be 10%, so adding a building that's 10% is doing nothing to help us.
No, it's not gonna move the needle for
No,
our.
not gonna move the
yeah,
needle.
On what we
That
need.
type of thing that's in there, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do affordable, but they're doing it,
Yeah.
minimum.
It's so
I
small.
can't agree with Joe anymore that this is our money. We're giving it to them, and then they're deciding what we have, what
Yeah.
hoops we have to jump through to get some of it back. And it's like, it just, the logic there is
Yeah.
not there. And nothing
So
you
take
can
that
do.
and fix all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, let's just say, if you tell Lisa to get town council to go fight it, but until there's a court case that tells us that, you know, you don't have to,
Yeah.
you know, I think that not doing it would probably be a bigger hurt than doing it.
All right. So will you tell us to
I'm sorry,
direct?
Mr. Hill, Ms.
planning
Green
board
had her
take care of
hand
it.
up, and then we just went left, so,
Okay.
yeah.
On the grants as well, unfortunately, they don't announce the towns that apply for grant but didn't get the grant. You know, and they didn't get the grant because they're not compliant. So they kind of leave you up in the air with that. They threatened that you're not eligible to do, you know, to apply. Maybe the town applies, but they get put in the bottom of the list. So unfortunately, they never announce who applied, but who didn't get it.
No, but now that
So-
Tony's saying that they're talking about casting the net more widely, that, because I was just curious, like,
Yeah,
are there
yeah.
specific, like, green community grant, like, is there buckets of grants that we wouldn't be eligible for? But what I'm hearing Tony say is it sounds like they're gonna basically take almost all state grants off the table.
Yeah, That would
three
make
of them,
sense, yeah.
there's like I believe it's Mass Works, Mass Housing, and there's one more that doesn't come to mind right now. The three you definitely.
Mass development.
I think Mass Development, the three that you definitely get, let's say, you're not a compliant community, you're not gonna be able to get into any of these, and those grants cover a lot. And on Monday, they basically said, and pretty much all the other ones too, will probably be very difficult at a minimum to try and get to.
It's so crazy.
It really is. Mr. Hill?
Earlier you mentioned that these will have to go through every building will have to go through.
Would be a
your
site plan.
town plan.
Yeah.
So, will they go through the same rules, or will they be able to skirt some of the planning board rules, or are you guys 100%, they've gotta be a X amount of frontage, X amount of, I mean, you did mention you could
As
change
like
the parking.
As in a variance?
Variances and stuff.
I have not heard anything that would say that they would be able to get any variances to the regulations.
So they still have to comply with conservation.
Yes,
They still have to
100%.
comply with planning.
yes.
Okay.
There has not been anything that says these projects would be the equivalent of a 40B where there's, we'll say, allowances under the local level. That's why you create the bylaws for that district. So so what all the information that is part of this bylaw has gone into a spreadsheet that was part of it's an Excel workbook. So you have to input all this information. That was what Old Colony Planning Council and VHB assisted with. And they put all that information in to see that we were compliant. And that's also now been passed up, submitted to the state for their review, for their preliminary review. So they're looking at this as well. So that way, if there's anything that needs to be adjusted, it can be done before it gets to town meeting versus, let's say, it goes to town meeting, gets approved, then goes to the state and they say, oh, wait a minute, this is something we need to change.
Now, what about the fact that a lot of the area that we're talking about is precariously close to wetlands? And of course, septic has always been a huge issue along that whole area.
The wetlands is taken out of the equation, so the area that it's, when you create the district, they look at, it has to be a minimum of 50 acres.
Okay.
And all the wetlands, roads, everything like that is taken out of that. So you create, let's say, a big district. Once they pull everything out, if what's remaining, I think ours is 74 point something acres.
Okay.
As far as the septic systems, that's one thing that they really, and the say soil conditions, that's one thing that they really didn't focus on, which, is part of it, especially, let's say, in a town like Hanson that has no municipal sewage.
Yeah.
But they really didn't focus on that. And it's something that, obviously you should focus on it, but I always like to say that they like to plan things, but they don't like to talk to the engineers that have to design it.
That's the truth.
But that being said, they really didn't consider that. I think Ms. Green had been at some conference where they had discussed this. Various municipalities had put to the state that we have a municipal sewage system and we want to expand it, so we apply to DEP for an expansion of our sewage treatment plant, and you tell us no.
Right.
So, I don't know where it's all going to fall. I'm just trying to keep us in compliance so that we can keep getting grant money.
Yeah, that's all you
There's
can
a
do.
lot of moving parts to this, and this isn't like, we're not the planning board, so this isn't the stuff we usually deal with, so.
And again, I don't know what's going to happen by the end of 2024. It'll be interesting to see how it comes out of this.
Mr. Hill?
I'm not suggesting this at all, and I really don't even want to open the Pandora's box, but multiple people have come up and asked, can we close down the Hanson T station and just get out of this? Is that even, not take it down, if it never existed, we wouldn't have this problem, correct? If the train never stopped in Hanson?
If you didn't have a commuter rail station, then the only thing that you might be open to is if you're commuter rail adjacent. So for instance, what's the next town over?
Halifax.
Okay, so
Whitman.
has commuter rail?
Yep.
Okay, you'd still have to create something. So even if you're commuter rail adjacent, you'd have to try and create a district within half a mile of that,
Even if we don't have a stop?
yes, if you don't have a stop.
So in a nutshell, because I'm all for housing, I don't know how my kids' generation is gonna find a single place to live. So with that being said, what I'm hearing is, planning board and yourself have done a fantastic job of doing a good faith effort plan to put this out. But the state is telling us that land that we have chosen to keep, untouched, we're being forced to touch it. Or give the opportunity for people to touch it, and if we don't touch it, we don't get our tax money back.
Well, just to be clear, we're not touching it, but yes, private home.
No,
Yeah.
private's even
Yeah.
worse.
Yep.
I mean, at the end of the day, at that point, you can put in $1 million homes as long as 10% of them are affordable.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
they want okay, so,
They can, yeah.
we're sorry that we've tortured you.
No,
and
I mean, let's put it this way, I'm here before you as a planner.
Yeah.
And, as a citizen, yeah, I'm not a big fan of being told you have to do this
Yeah.
or else.
I just don't let the dictates
it's
of getting a
not-
release.
You're the one that knows
Yeah.
what needs to be done in Hanson,
Right.
not.
And I'm gonna-
We have a
not the
plan.
state.
I'm gonna make a point to your point. There's no guarantee that your kids could buy housing in Hanson.
That was what I'm trying to say.
No,
It makes no
no,
sense.
not that they can't afford it. They're not even gonna be allowed to. This is my point, is that this is not being done for the benefit of the citizens of Hanson.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It's not what
I
it's
mean,
being done for.
Yeah, it's true. But we did, for whatever it's worth, I mean, you guys are backed up into a corner, so
Yeah.
you always do a great job of, trying to do it within the confines of that, trying to position Hanson in the best way possible. So kudos to everybody for making that happen. But that's really frustrating.
One of the toughest things here has been the deadline. I mean,
Yeah.
we have to have this done by the end of this year. I found that to be a really tough deadline.
Yeah.
Since I came on. I mean, pretty much when I came on is when it started kicking off. That was the end of 2021.
Oh.
So basically, let's say 2022, the end of 2024, you have to really get it all
Right.
squared away.
And there are people blowing the deadlines, but,
Yeah, there's, I forgot who I had. That was VHB, actually. I was telling them, I said, okay, they're sort of wrapped up their part of the grant.
Yeah.
And so in essence, they're shutting down as far as they've gone through the budget, and they said, we think we've met everything of that we're contractually required to do with Hanson. And they did mention that, you're a lot further along than some communities.
Yeah.
That they're,
That's the danger of this, trying to push a deadline this fast with something as complicated as this. If you
Yeah.
had a lesser prepared town planner and
Exactly.
board, or
Yep.
town administrator, you would be in a bad spot.
I mean, there are some communities that have, closer to Boston, that they have already their zoning in place and their district in place. It'd be nice as if you do meet the deadline if you got a bonus from
Yeah,
the
right.
state,
A little bit more tax money from some other people.
But free grant, I don't know, something.
Move up in
but-
the grant line.
Yeah.
That's right. Just get bumped
You know,
up.
So, again, I can only reiterate that it's a district, it's not, the town doesn't have to create the housing, just a district, and that the downside is we lose grant money, which is something that, we depend on to try and move some of the projects forward. So again, this isn't a personal thing, I'm just trying to do what's right for the town to move things forward.
And I hope you're not taking our questions
No, not at all.
personally, because we
Not at all,
trust
not at all.
100% you.
Yeah.
I think until, unless there's some kind of court case that says that the Commonwealth is out of line, or is unconstitutional, and the towns do not have to meet the mandate, we have to just keep going along until that happens, if that happens.
I do have one quick question though, just procedurally. So I saw on this that it said on the meeting on the 22nd, somewhere in here, it says that we voted 302. The planning board voted 302 for this, so I'm assuming that's 3 yes and 2 abstentions. If we didn't get the third vote, what would happen? Do you have any idea? Like, we have to make sure we have an affirmative vote on some of this stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, in that particular case, that was closing the public hearing, anything statutorily has to be a majority of the board, not a
Right.
majority of the quorum. So, yeah, I mean, if we were just doing a report, I guess if it gets to the select board and 2 of you say yes and the other 3 say no, then it's dead.
dead, but that has consequences, right?
Yes.
So the reason why I'm getting to that is, regardless, a yes vote just moves us into the compliance phase. It's not necessarily meaning that you're just trying not to get penalized for a no vote. So it's important to recognize that.
And to Ed's point, even if we vote to place this, you guys can vote whatever way you want, whether you want to recommend or not. Similarly, the planning board will. And then you let the voters make the decision at town meeting.
My thing is, and the reason why I'm bringing it up, not to belabor this point, is just, it's important for us to, because this has huge liability issues.
Yes.
I don't want like 3 people to not allow the town to move forward, to have the opportunity to have like a debate about this on the floor and to like derail it inadvertently. I just think that's important. Like
Yep.
Because that could put us in a bad spot. Three people of any board, theoretically, could prevent us from getting grants in the future by derailing this entire project, by not allowing the statutory method to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the planning board, I've worked with them on this, they're very well aware. The vote that night was because 2 of the members were actually didn't attend the meeting.
Yeah.
One was on training, one was out ill.
Yeah.
They hadn't attended the hearing?
Right,
So then they didn't want to vote at the closing of the hearing because they weren't in all?
No, they had attended all the hearings, it's just
Yeah.
when the closing of the hearing, they took the last vote to close the public hearing.
Yeah.
It was just a case of 2 members weren't there that evening due to, one was had another.
So you don't have anybody that's expressed an opposition to it at your meetings?
Not that I recall, I mean,
Okay.
on a personal level, outside of the board.
No, I mean as a planning board member.
As a planning board,
Yeah.
As a planning board, some of them have raised concerns similar to what the board here has
Yeah.
raised.
Yeah.
But, I think there's also that understanding that until otherwise known, if we don't comply, it's gonna hurt us in the long run.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay,
It's just-
so,
Let's do it.
we need to, make a motion, and I did have this paper in front of me, to, I guess, to have Mr. DeFrayis go back to the planning board?
So as a
to-
select board, I guess you'd make the motion to, refer the change of to change the zoning map to create the MBTA district and to,
Draft.
amend
Yeah.
the zoning bylaws, and you're requesting a report from the planning board on those two items.
I will entertain that motion.
So moved. That sounds great.
Okay, any further discussion?
Nope.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you very much, we
And again,
appreciate it.
we'll meet on the 22nd, so please, it's a public hearing, please feel free to attend.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now, the
It's important, so.
Energy Committee update, do we have that, or are we not doing that tonight?
I thought Jim Armstrong was gonna do that. but
All right.
In my town administrator report, I have an update on the,
That's fine.
aggregate, so.
We did the Council on Aging, let's surplus equipment with the police, department, Miss Green.
Yes. So the police have a 2017 Ford Interceptor cruiser that they would like the board to deem surplus. The police chief will be trading in the vehicle by February 1st. And
Want to split it?
that would be for trading it towards the purchase of a new cruiser. So if the board would please deem the surplus, then we can let the chief know.
I will entertain that motion.
So
Did you have a
moved.
motion to read, or?
No, I wasn't
Do you
sure.
wanna read the whole- the VIN
Is there
and all?
usually
Yes,
something we have to
yep.
read? So I'll make a motion to declare surplus a 2017 Ford Interceptor, VIN number 1FM5K8AR4HGC 25712. Yeah,
Okay, I will
Second.
entertain a second, great. All in favor? Okay, great. And then that brings us to vote to accept manager change for Hanson American Legion, post number 226, Inc. And, we're having a change in the, manager, to Mr. David George, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And fortuitously, Mr. George is not here, so he does not have to recuse himself. So I will entertain a motion to appoint David George as the manager for the Hanson American Legion Post number 226.
So moved.
And I second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Fantastic. We are clipping along. And then that brings us to discuss private way bylaw. Ms. Green.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Discuss private way bylaw?
Oh, Madam Chair, I'm going to ask that we table that discussion. There's some questions on the language, that we want to get back to the board about.
Okay. Okay.
Is that the streets and highway thing right here?
Yes,
Yes.
yep. Then, that brings us to execute state primary warrant, which is, are we reading the motion?
Yes, so.
Yes, here it is, I've got it. It's all
Yes.
coming back to me. So, I'm having a moment. Okay, Mr. Weeks, can you read, motion to set polling for state, right there? Make a motion.
Yeah, I just gotta figure out with all
Yeah.
the things. I make a motion to set the polling for the state primary from 7 AM to 7 PM on September 1st.
Is that the right date?
That can't be the right date,
No, that's
is
not
it?
No, the date, if you look at the very front page, the date is on the front page.
Where, oh, okay, no, I don't see it. Oh, March, I don't see, 5th day of March, okay, there we go. All right, I make a motion to set the polling for the state primary from 7 AM to 8 PM on March 5th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Great. And then municipal flag policy.
So, no, one second, so that took care of 8 and 9?
8 and 9.
Yes.
Execute and set polling.
Well, this will take care of the executing. We have to
Oh,
sign
okay.
it. Do we need to make a motion to execute this?
No, you don't need.
No, because we just voted on it.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
make
you just
sure.
voted on
Okay,
it, yes.
and so we already executed it. Then that brings us to municipal flag policy discussion. So, we, have, along with a lot of other towns, have been getting some requests to put various political flags on our flagpole. And I talked to, town council about this, and I also talked to our town clerk. It's been a discussion amongst all of the town clerks, because of course people are going through the town clerk asking, you know, about use of town hall property, the flagpole, et cetera, et cetera. Kate thought it was a good idea for us to adopt a policy that reflects essentially what we're doing, which is that we allow the state flag, the town flag, of course, the United States flag, and military-related
Like the
flags.
foul flag and-
Yeah, yes, military-related flags on our flagpole and nothing else. And that isn't to curtail people's First Amendment rights. They've got a right to protest on town property. They've got a right to freedom of speech in whatever way they want, but not on our flagpole. And that would be for all flagpoles in the town of Hanson.
All town-owned.
So thank you, I didn't mean all,
Yeah.
yeah, all town-owned, on, all flagpoles on town-owned property. People can put whatever flag they want on their own, private property.
Thank you.
So I just thought, that would, avoid us getting complaints or lawsuits or appeals. Some towns have got a process where they're allowing people to apply, and honestly, and I'm just one person, if you guys disagree, I don't want to be judge and jury about whether this, you know, cause or that cause or this cause, and inevitably, there's going to be something hateful that will be asked to represent, and I just, and then you're getting into curtailing one group versus another and putting your own personal values on it, and I just don't want to get into that. And I think it's safer for us to say, look, it's the United States flagpole, we're putting state in, you know, and it will be put at half-mast at all the times that we're declared to do that by the president and the governor. And then, you know, at times when the town administrator might know that there's been somebody who's a long-standing employee of the town or whatever, we can have a, you know, clause in that. So does anybody fundamentally have a problem with that concept and want us to take it in a different direction?
I personally couldn't agree any more the way you
Okay,
just said.
all right, so, Ms. Green, if you could work with Ms. Federoff, and nail down a policy for us to review and adopt. I just wanted to conceptually make sure we were on the same sheet of music, so that, you know, you were given a clear direction. Okay,
I think conversely, if you leave it open and you let one person hang a flag, that's not for policy. You have to let a whole bunch of people
Exactly.
fly a flag. And I'm not even thinking about what the controversy is. I'm thinking about how many flags could be on one flagpole and how big the flagpole now has to be. It's, keep it simple.
yep,
Just
I
keep it simple.
agree, yep. There's no need, people have many opportunities to express.
They also have their own private property.
They
hang
have
all
their
the
own
flags
private
you want.
property, they have their bumper stickers, they have their T-shirts, their hats,
We will
whatever,
support-
fill in the blank.
Yeah, support all that.
Flag, like Ed said, your own flag. Okay, so that brings us to approve. Oh, do you need a motion
I
on
don't
that,
think we have anything
Lisa?
to approve.
What's next?
No, not to have us work on
No,
the policy.
yeah, I mean,
You'll need a motion
we'll-
to adopt
We'll
the
do a
policy.
motion once we've actually got something in front of us, and
Yes.
I would just ask that if we could get that, say, you know, like a week before the meeting, just so people can really comb through it, because it's gonna be something everybody's gonna really wanna feel comfortable with. So if we could just do that, that would be great. And then that brings us to approve open session meeting, minutes of January 23rd, 2024.
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? Okay, great. And then that brings us to committee updates. Economic,
Say aye, weren't we?
oh, I'm sorry.
No, no.
I'm in such a rush to
Oh, on the
get through here.
minutes?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Call.
All right. Then committee updates, Economic Development Committee, Kevin Cohen and I filmed, a PSA for the Economic Development Committee. It may not be the best thing that I've ever filmed, but I don't blame cable, it was really me and maybe Kevin, it was our first go at it. It's okay, it basically says, look, we've got a business guide if you wanna open up a business, you know, here's how you here's how you access it if you wanna give us feedback, it's basically a little PSA. So, we've got that going on, and, then we're going to start meeting, more regularly. We were kind of working on PSA and the business guidance and various other things, and report back once we've got a little bit more progress on that. Mr. Weeks, High Street.
Yeah, unfortunately, nothing. Last meeting, we didn't have a quorum, so, we have some presentations that we've had scheduled, but quorum issues resulted in us not being able to meet.
And, did I hear that there was some damage up there, or people dumping stuff or something up there?
Oh, yeah, and somebody backed up into one of the signs and knocked it over, and Dave Mansfield's fixing it and cleaning it up, and he does late, you know, always doing something, but yeah, somebody
No good deed goes
dropped off a
unpunished.
couch.
Yep. Yeah, somebody dumped a couch, I guess, and
Yeah, some
it's
pictures.
just,
Yeah, and when they were
Yeah.
doing it, they turned around and backed up into one of the new signs that they just put up for the,
They couldn't spend
when
the
they opened
$20 to get rid of it?
It's,
I know, exactly, it's like, for
Jerks.
Pete's sake. All right, well,
Highway-
we condemn that action. The
Yes,
board
we do.
unilaterally condemns that
go
action.
pick up your couch.
Exactly. Highway
We
Committee,
have a meeting on Thursday at 10:30.
that's music to my ears, I love it, that's great. And wow, Thursday's a busy day, because we also have a McQuon Property Reuse Committee meeting on Thursday evening. And I'm excited about it. We've got, good group of citizens at large, and we're gonna just dig right in, and we welcome the public, because we know a lot of people have got thoughts about how that property should be used, and seldom does Facebook make determinations on these matters, so show up at the meetings. And Recreation Committee, where are we on that? Recreation Committee, I'm looking at you,
committee? I thought it was commission.
just because you're to my right, that's unfortunate for you.
Don't have anything.
Didn't we change that to
Bubbling on
commission?
I think it is
It
commission.
keeps
We
coming
have
up.
to, oh, that is an article for a town meeting warrant article, because to create a commission requires us to, anything that's a permanent committee or commission requires us to do that at town meeting.
Okay.
So when it was originally just sort of, we're gonna look at things, it was a committee, we didn't need to go to town meeting. If we're gonna create something more long-standing, which is what we discussed, then we do need to have that as a town meeting warrant article. So that was at least helpful for that. What's going on with the transfer station task force? We've got Arlene, and I'm hearing, and was Mr. Dugan the other part of that? But I'm hearing, that he has recently stepped down from FinCom, so you may have to reach out to Mr. Sullivan and see if we can get another rep there.
I'm thinking, it's been long enough since we've met that we have to, I think we have to do another plea and try to figure out how to reconvene this thing.
Or do you just say, if nobody's feeling particularly passionate enough about this to drive it, then do we just say, the time is not now for us to be looking at it,
I don't disagree.
and we're just gonna mothball it? Just think about it, you know? You talk to Ms. Diaz and see what she thinks about it. Joy of all joys, Whitman Hanson Regional School Agreement Committee will be next Monday evening, and Ms. Green and I will be there. But as an FYI, I think all of you guys got an invite from Mr. Simonek. If not, it was in the paper.
Yes.
For tomorrow night is the budget discussion for the school committee, whereupon we will be told that they need 9.34% or something like that from Hanson and 11 point some odd from Whitman. And Ms. Green has already, in between the initial conversation where she let everybody know 5% was where we were at and where everybody should be at, I should say, the school should be at, because the rest of the town departments are being held to a much lower percentage for an increase. Ms. Green and Mary Beth from Whitman met again, but if I'm going into something in your town administrative report, then I will just defer and let you talk about it later. So no other update there. Any other committee updates? Okay, Ms. Green, take it away, town administrative report.
Okay. All right, Madam Chair, Ms. Vice Chair, members of the board. So back in October of 2021, special town meeting, there was an article for
I didn't check it off.
applicants of permits and licenses who owe money, financial obligations to the town. There was a legislation that was introduced at the town meeting. It was approved. So we finally received a draft back from the Home Rule Legislation Committee of that legislation. Town council reviewed it. They were fine with it. They were minor language changes. So they made the changes, and we have sent it back to Josh Cutler's office to go back before the Home Rule Legislation Committee. So it's now in its final stages, so hopefully.
Now, who will see that through in the absence of Josh Cutler? Are we just working with like Cole at his office? And
We're working with Cole. From what I understand, Josh he still has his hands in it a little bit. So, I'll be working with Cole.
Okay.
On that. So we'll keep an eye on it and hope that it will finally be approved. We had a kickoff meeting with the Collins Center and the Capital Improvement Committee Chair, Frank Malisi, on the capital improvement plan. And right now, we did receive the proposal from the Collins Center. What the plan is to get through town meeting, but in the interim, they're going to start putting together plans to meet with departments over the next 6 months to get the assets, the inventory, get descriptions of the capital. I'm going to work with the departments of taking pictures of the trucks and things like that. So that project is underway.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
I
it's
love the
probably a
idea
year
of
out
getting,
before we
like-
see it, but it will be well worth it when it's done.
Don't you guys think that's really going to be helpful?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this is funded by the Community Compact Grant. So that's underway. So the Hanson, the municipal aggregate program that was brought to us through Patrick Roach of Good Energy a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. We received conditional approval from the Department of Public Utilities back on January 29th. It was in earlier January 3rd. They wanted some updates to the plan. Those were made, and again, they were minor updates. They were made by Good Energy. They resubmitted the plan. The DPU gave its final approval on January 29th to move forward with the aggregate process program. So the next steps on this is that Good Energy will start the procurement process for the electricity vendors, suppliers. Once that's done, they hope to have that process complete by the end of March. Once that's done and a supplier is chosen, they're gonna start education and outreach information to the residents of Hanson. There is a website that people can go to right now. It's under www.hansoncommunitypower.com. That will provide some information. Once the procurement process is started, is complete, there hopes to be a potential launch of the program in June of this year. So if there's any more updates, changes, delays, I will keep the board up to date as the process moves on.
And again,
So-
people will be, I know Mr. Heel, we all kind of share the opinion of the fact that everybody was opted in automatically. So there'll be robust communication with people about how to opt out?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
all the outreach and education. And again, they can go to that website, it's the Hanson Community Power, and that will provide information. It provides, contact us information, if people have questions, they can contact, there's a phone number there, there's an email template that they can put in, so.
Yeah, my problem is to get to there. I'm a homeowner, how do I know to get to there? You gotta get it out.
That's what I'm saying, I think we get postcards or some kind of, I know that, because we asked this, and they said, oh, there'll be communication, we'll tell you, you'll be, I don't know if it was mail, postcards, or in the paper, or all of the above, but I got the feeling it would be kind of a robust campaign.
Yes, so I will double check and see when they will start and how it will go out. Will it be brochures? Will it be a postcard? Will it be a letter? I'll find out that information, but that website is there.
And I would really like to, I think maybe because it's fresh in my mind, Mary, helping
Mary
folks.
Damasio, yeah.
It feels to me like we're gonna wanna make sure Mary's aware of the program and that she, if she plays some role in helping people to figure out if they wanna opt out. Cause I think she'd be the natural person they'd go to, since she's kind of working on a lot of those types of things for people.
Does she help non-seniors? God, I'd love to have her help me
I
out.
could- I couldn't help but think to myself, geez, I'm not quite at the age yet, but boy, it sounds like she's got a lot of services I
Yeah.
can use. Yeah. We're almost
we'll-
there, Ed.
I know,
We'll make
really,
sure
too
on this
close.
program that we all work together to make sure the residents are, well-informed, that they have the contact information, they can contact our office if they need a phone number, or if they want to ask us a question, we can pass it on, so we'll make sure that we are working with everybody to make sure there's more education and outreach out there to.
Yeah, like our
fully provide the
Facebook
program.
page, whatever we can do, plane, train, automobile.
And
Yeah.
we'll get in the newsletter and things like that, so. All of our union contracts, our 4 union contracts, expire June 30th of this year. So we have start bargaining, we have met with some of the unions and had ground rules. We have, administrative professionals union and highway, we've met, and we've done ground rules, and we've set dates for bargaining. Police and fire unions, we are working on dates to send ground rules, and then we will be, adding more dates for the actual bargaining. So our goal is hopefully to come to agreements with all the 4 unions, have the contracts, at least ready to be ratified, by town meeting. So that process is moving forward. And I want to take a step back, to my, proposal regarding the animal control, situation in the budget and the animal shelter. I know that there's been concerns out there voiced, regarding the animal control officer. He's working full-time. If he's working full-time in one town, how can he work in other towns? But if people think about it, there's a lot of people who work a full-time job and then work part-time jobs to make ends meet. Sometimes they work 2 part-time jobs, but it's not unusual, for people to do that. And again, this is just a proposal, it's not a finality. We are talking with Abington and Whitman for regionalized. We've invited East Bridgewater to join the conversation, so they're still planning to go with that.
So it's very early in the process.
It's very early in the process,
Yeah.
but we want to make sure that these concerns are voiced. But, you can't stop somebody from working part-time to make ends meet if they're working a full-time job.
I guess some of the conversation I'm hearing is the idea that is Hanson Animal Control a full-time job? I guess is there enough animals? And I think we need to have some numbers. And I think we're working on that.
Well, we're working on it, and it's a 24/7, type of job
Yeah, which
too.
is-
So, you know, an animal, Hanson does have a lot of animals, as we know.
Right.
So, you know, basically, and again, it's not announced exactly what Joe does all the time, because, you know, if people really want to know how many dead skunks he picks up, or dead deer he picks up, or how many dog bites he responds to, or loose dogs that he has to chase, or animals that have been abandoned in apartments that he has to go and get, you know, we can certainly provide that information, but.
He actually told us that he's working far in excess of the part-time hours that we're paying him for.
Yes, yes, yes.
And the fact that he's boarding animals at his home for no charge, and like, you know, like, and so, I hear what you're saying, you know, what you're saying, Ed, and I think what I'm hoping is that to the extent there's any, you know, any kind of, gap in full-time versus what Hanson needs, that this partnership with these other towns is, and then some revenue that we're gonna get is gonna bridge that gap. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm not against it
Yeah.
at all, I'm
I'm not getting that from you.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
certain dogs that have bones that they're gonna continue to chew on, and there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah.
We just have to
Animal
move
control is,
forward.
you know, people don't see it, they don't hear about it, but it's a busy job. It's a busy job. He's been an employee since 2019. He's doing the job that we hired him for. And it's important for us to start treating him as an
And
employee.
he's driving his own car around doing all this.
Well, he does have the
does have the
Hanson
van
car now that he
Okay.
only
All
uses
right.
for Hanson calls.
Okay.
But we need to start treating him like an employee.
Yes, we do.
So, you know, I just wanted to circle back around and then provide a little bit more information that, you know, police, you know, they respond to a lot of calls, but people don't know about it all the time. And same with animal control, because people, do they really want to know about all these, you know, yucky kind of things that people don't want to deal with? But we will work, again, they're animal control, so, keeping logs and technology and things like that are not always on the top of their minds. They're thinking animals. But we're gonna work with them to put logs together and things like that. But we'll do the best we can, but again, still early in the conversation, but wanted to at least keep this conversation going.
I like the idea of the potential to offset some of our costs with the other towns. That's, I really dig it.
We had very good meeting with Abington and Whitman. You know, there's definitely an interest in the partnership. And again, we've invited East Bridgewater, who have, again, they have questions. There's a lot of things to be worked out, and we're all working together on it.
And we've done this with other towns, in other positions where, you know, say for instance, if Joe were to be a full-time, quote-unquote, Hanson employee, where the other towns have to reimburse Hanson for prorated benefits and,
Yes.
and what have you, so that, you know, it really is a fair, you know, we're paying our fair share and only our fair share, not more than that.
Correct. You know, each one of us, each of the town administrators, town manager, have, some homework to do. We each have you know, an assignment that we are completing, for our next meeting with Abington, and so we'll keep moving forward, and I'll
And
keep providing the
honestly,
board
to
with
the extent
updates.
that we're gonna use a facility in Hanson, well, I think the other guys need to pay a little bit more, you know, more of their share. That should be taken into consideration.
Well, it's one in Whitman too, so Whitman and Hanson, but again, we're gonna keep working
Yeah.
on this project, so.
I like the out-of-the-box thinking. I
do
think that
too.
we are very blessed to have a lot of fantastic employees.
Yep.
And Joe's just another one. He's always been reliable. You never heard a single complaint about him.
No.
And no one's gonna say that he doesn't work hard. I think it's incredibly important to constantly find new and innovative ways to support the town and support employees and make sure they have what they need to be successful.
agree.
I just, and I give kudos to you for voluntarily going out of your way to voice concerns that people have, because you don't want that to be silenced, because all of that stuff is gonna be helpful in contributing to figuring out whatever the solution is. So kudos to you for bringing that up. I just think, I like the idea of just continuously just trying to find a way to make this work.
And you know, we're exploring ways to get the animal shelter back out open and back up, to its glory days. There's a lot of work to be done, but we're exploring, social VOTEC, we're exploring volunteers, community service. So we're exploring all kind of different, angles to see what we can do to get the animal shelter open with the minimal cost to the town.
Did you mention Plymouth County, did you mention Plymouth County Sheriff?
Nope, I haven't mentioned that one.
Give it a whirl. When you were on talking about ARPA, hey, by the
Yep.
way.
Animals. And then I was also going to, just talk about the Whitman Hanson School Committee meeting tomorrow evening, Wednesday at 6:30 PM in the, library at the, Whitman Hanson Regional High School, to, listen to the superintendent's budget proposal. I will be there, to listen to what they have to say, so I really
Is anybody
invite
else planning
residents.
on going?
I can't.
would love to, but I'm double booked.
I'm not asking to guilt anybody. I'm
No, I
asking
wanna
because
go.
I want to make sure we don't need to post. Not that I think we'll
Are you
deliberate.
thinking of going?
Yeah, yes, I am.
I feel
Yeah,
better that.
it's
you
that
went
type
that
of
way.
week this week, every single night this week has been a
Yeah, I
meeting,
know the
so.
feeling, I'm
Yep.
double booked almost every night. Yeah.
Good times. So, anyway, all right, so,
So, and, that, basically, completes my town administrator report for this week.
all right, well, thank you very much, Ms. Green. Then with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn to go into executive session pursuant to open meeting law, chapter 38, section 21A, 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, building litigation discussion, fireworks litigation discussion, 751 Main Street discussion, or executive session pursuant to open meeting law, chapter 30A, section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, conservation property, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than the professional competence of an individual, or discuss the discipline or dismissal or complaints or charges against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual, town administrator, veteran service officer. Executive session pursuant to open meeting law, chapter 38, section 21A7, to review and approve executive session minutes, January 23rd, 2024. I will entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 We are now entering executive session, and we will not be reconvening in open session.